Hello, this is Morgan Finley with Landmark Implement, and today we will be going over documentation and section control setup on the 2630 display. So here I have a 2630 display pulled up, and we are going to walk through the documentation setup. We're going to want to go to Menu or the stack of bricks down in the bottom right hand corner, and then we're going to go to our GS3 or D tile. Under GS3, your first page will be this setup page. This is where you can select which pages you want to walk through, and then once you have those selected, you can hit accept, and the display will walk you through every page to get your documentation set up correctly. Today, I'm just going to walk through tile by tile to ensure that we have our documentation set up and that you know where to go if you need to check this information. So we always talk about G, H, and I when we talk about documentation setup. G is going to be our first tile. This is where we will select our client, farm, field, and task that we will be completing. I'm going to select planting for task, and we can see that I already have a client, a farm, and field selected. I will also go ahead and change the crop season year to 2021. The next tile that we want to make sure is set up correctly is our H tile or equipment tile. This is where we will select our machine model. I'm going to select an 8R, and I'm going to select an 8335 and set it as a rear 2-point connection type. The machine turn radius and turn sensitivity are going to be default settings. I do not suggest messing with those unless you are instructed to by your local dealer. We are, however, going to want to double check our offsets and make sure that those are as accurate as possible so that we get the most accurate mapping and section control. So we'll go through our A, B, C, and D. Down here, they explain what those measurements are, and if you just get out with a tape measure and double check those measurements and make sure they are accurate to your machine setup. We'll then slide over to our implement tile or tab and select the piece of equipment that we will be pulling. For this demonstration, we are going to be on a 1775 NT planter. We're going to want to look in our offsets and double check those just like on our machine. Make sure that those are accurately selected so that our section control works as it should. And again, down here they explain what those measurements are supposed to be on your tractor and implement. Down in this bottom section, we can change the width of our implement. We can go by feet and rows, or we can change that to just feet. You should be able to select the number of section control drivers that you have for your specific planter. This being a simulator, I'm not able to do so. The last page we're going to go into for our documentation is going to be the I or document tile, and this is where we are going to put in our variety that we are going to be planting. So we will do our seed type and select whether we are doing what seed we are putting in the ground, as well as adding a variety to ensure that we are documenting as much information as we can so that when it comes over into Operations Center, we have everything that we need. Here we can assign our variety to rows. This is where you can assign split planter or each row individually. Advanced setting is just more documentation that you can put in, and we will want to continue with this operation, so we will not mess with this disable button over here. The RX button is where we will pull in any prescription files that we have made or our seed dealer has made and that we have loaded into the display. and we would go ahead and enter in any of that information into this section and hit accept for our prescription to be loaded in and be used for that field. So once all of our documentation is done, we will then be able to go and ensure that our section control is up and ready to go. We will want to make sure that our section control master is turned on, and then you can select headland control if you have a boundary, or you can leave this blank. Your section control will still work. Overlap settings, this will be user preference. If you want to minimize skip, minimize overlap, or minimize skip on your coverage, interior boundaries or exterior boundaries, you can select what you want your planner to do when it comes to those settings. Minimize skip, you will have more overlap than empty space. Minimize overlap, you'll have more empty space than overlap. And then percent overlap, you can change the percentage that your planner will overlap on that section's shut off. Turn on and off settings, this is your look ahead times. We do not suggest messing with these too much, and only mess with these in 0.2 increments, as well as leaving it go for a few rows before you change them for another time. The section control map settings will be what you want to view on your section control map coverage. You can set different map layers to your background if you have those loaded in, and then you can set different map layers to your foreground as well. This will be a similar page to your home run page, and will let you be able to view your section control map as you are going through the field, as well as watching your shutoffs and setting your section control master on and off. Rates and sections will just be your sections that you have on your planner, being able to watch those run on and off, and then as well as watching your target rates. We can then go back to our home button, see that our section control is selected on, and you can hit your foot switch for that as well, and your section control will then be running throughout your field. If you ever have any questions or are having issues with your equipment, you can always call your local Landmark dealership and they can get you connected to your local CTS, or call your local CTS as well as the AMS hotline.